Welcome back, everybody. Ian and I have been chatting it up here for a few seconds here, just kind of talking about some stuff, and we figure, well, we might as well just start talking about this on stream.
Just saying.
So we got to talk about Tony Khan here and how he looks and how this impacts his public persona. But on the tail end of the conversation before we went to break, we were talking about the elite, because they're a big piece of all elite wrestling in the name, lead in everything else. When all of that was going on the YouTube show, a big piece of it was that it was the elite starting this thing.
Right.
And there's even some conjecture going around, maybe saying that Cody Rhodes was somehow doing some things behind the scenes to make the money work. And that may be true. That may be how it all went down. But there's a big piece of it. They're saying that it was Cody was doing some things. Not a lot was spoken about the actual money behind the name of Elite Wrestling. Fast forward even to the big event, there was not a lot of talk about the name behind the money that was making All Elite Wrestling work. You didn't see Tony Khan at the big press event. You saw the Elite. You saw Chris Jericho. You saw all this stuff. So let's at least set the groundwork on who the Elite is. Okay, so for the longest time, you had the Young Bucks doing their thing, Kenny Omega doing his thing. The Bucks primarily in Ring of Honor, and because of the business relationship, going out to New Japan Pro Wrestling, who was the employer of Kenny Omega. Now,
and they had some Impact crossover too, didn't they?
No, not at that time. Not at that time. Okay. Not crossover. Okay. The Bucks have shown up on WWE and Impact, but not as part of this. Like, this is before any of this, like any of the Elite, any of this connection to Kenny.
Oh, sure. Right. Yeah. Fair enough. Okay.
So before the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega became the Elite, they were part of the Bullet Club in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Sure.
A faction started by Finn Balor, known as Prince Devitt. The tag team that has become known as the Good Brothers, Machine Gun, Kenny Anderson, and Doc Gallows. And then a Samoan faction, Big Balak Fale, and others. Effectively, they were the Gaijin faction, the non-Japanese faction in New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's where the Bullet Club got started.
Sure.
So then you had Kenny Omega and Young Bucks. They went through. They had AJ Styles come in after Finn left.
Yeah, I was
AJ left.
Because it went from Finn to AJ to Kenny.
As
the leader of the Bullet Club.
Yes.
New Japan, right?
And
Kenny, Bullet Club sort of acted like almost an NWO-esque.
Oh, very much. Even doing the two suites, two suites and everything.
Woo. Yeah.
Which they got sign off from one Scott Hall himself, because they were helping to take care of his son Cody in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Especially since he was a Gaijin, he kind of came into the mix himself. So fast forward through the whole Bullet Club thing. The Bucks and Kenny Omega specifically started to break off from them. And then as a trio team, became known as the Elite. And that's the way it went down until the very end of their old life, starting into the new beginning of All Elite Wrestling. Cody Rhodes, Adam Hangman Page, Marty Scurll. I'll talk about Marty here in a second. Everyone else, they were not part of the quote-unquote elite until this whole All Elite Wrestling thing started.
Sure.
They made the announcement that Rhodes, Page, and Scurll were officially joining the Elite. Okay. So, we saw Rhodes, we saw Hangman, we saw Bucks, we saw, obviously we saw Kenny. What the hell's going on with Marty Scurll?
Yeah.
Scurll's contract with Ring of Honor didn't end until October-ish of 2019.
And we'd already established January 1st of 2019.
Correct.
Right.
So he couldn't come over yet.
Sure.
Fair enough. In the meantime, and I'm going to lay this out given the facts that I know. Marty Scurll was accused of and investigated for alleged sexual misconduct against a young woman. And best as I understand, that has, and this is unclear, it's either been dropped or settled.
One of those two, right.
And again, now dropped, you would think that really, if it is true to form dropped, then that gives Marty Scurll more credence. Settled doesn't necessarily convict him.
Well, I was just going to say, settled sometimes just means, will this make it go away? And I don't care.
Exactly.
And I didn't do it, but they'll make it go away and I can move on with life.
Exactly. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So, what I
always get upset when, especially athletes, get pulled into that crap.
It's hard to. This is where it becomes very, very unfortunate, because you do have very clear-cut situations where someone has come forth and has made false allegations against someone to get money from someone, right. And it makes it hurts the true victims of it more than anybody else.
Absolutely,
and so that's very, very unfortunate. But because of that, Scurll really hasn't been able to get any work in the U.S. or companies that have business relationships with U.S.-owned wrestling companies. So that includes New Japan Pro Wrestling, things like that. Sure. But he has been able to work in Mexico, England, other parts of Japan that don't have those relationships. Right. So take that what it is. It's one of those things where the only thing I can say is that, Marty, if you are innocent of those charges, then hey man, that bad luck, man. If you were, and it's one of those things, hey, if you were able to make recompense and then turn around and make a better position for your life, then again, it's kind of like, okay, hey, I wish you well.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's one of those things. And if you did and in a position where maybe you could help,
I was gonna say the other side of that.
if you really, really, truly did it, and it's one of those things, then maybe it's not the end of not the worst thing in the world that you're not getting, So
you're paying your dues.
You're paying your dues.
Quite frankly, that's a complete douchebag thing to do. What are you doing? Be a grown man. Stop that silliness.
Yeah.
And move on. Yeah, you should get everything that's coming to you in the bad side of that version.
Sure.
So,
but we don't know.
Anyhow, but that's neither here nor there. I was gonna say back to the Elite.
But again, just kind of the history lesson on the Elite itself, and kind of why. One thing, I'm fixing something here. Let me do that. Okay, great. Back to the Elite. So understand that the Elite as kind of a broader collective is a relatively new thing. At its core, it's always been Omega and the Bucks.
Sure.
Okay.
Which happened to be the 3 that showed up in CM Punk's locker room.
Mm-hmm. Now, I will also say, as an order of operations goes, historically within it, if there would be a 4th, it would be a flip between Hangman Adam Page and Adam Cole.
Yeah, and as far as AEW goes, it's almost
it's Hangman. It's Hangman.
Yeah.
Even though storyline,
the more talented, younger version of them.
Yep. And storyline wise, they've been separated. They've been doing.
He was more talented, younger version of Kenny. It was supposed to be kind of because the Young Bucks individually are.
No, that's why they've always been a tag team.
They've always been a tag team. So Kenny was a star.
Yes.
If you're going back to the one we always go back to is Kenny's Sean, and he's the talent, and Adam Page, that'd be X-Pac, I guess, in this weird version.
Kinda, because HBK has never really had a true protege.
No, he wasn't big on teammates.
No, he wasn't. Ask Marty Jannetty.
When it came to teammates.
No.
Yeah.
So now, but again, we already said that Kenny's kind of gone incommunicado with this whole thing so far, and it's probably the best thing for him to do. So we still have the Bucks.
So let's lead in. I think we've said a lot about them. 1,000% they were wrong as EVPs, real EVPs. This is not kayfabe in any way, shape, or form. They are executives of AEW. And as executives of AEW, you cannot go in and punch the talent. I mean, duh. But you can't go in and punch the talent. It is why active wrestlers should not be in this position. One, it's not, to be fair, it's not even fair to them. As the Young Bucks, let me flip to their side for a second. The humans of the Young Bucks, it is borderline, if not impossible, to be both the person that it takes to become a professional wrestler and a star leading the company type of professional wrestler. You have to be self-indulgent. You have to be self-promoting. You have to be all about you and your character and the fan. You have to be all about you. I mean, let's just put it like out there. You got to be all about you to push yourself up above everybody else. Because everybody else, that's what they're doing as well. So you got to be able to drive your character up. Being an executive is almost the opposite. You're looking at it from the opposite direction, or not necessarily maybe opposite, but you're looking at it from a much broader view. It's not about you.
Yes.
It's about us. And us may need you to disappear. Us may need you to take a loss, lose a belt, whatever, look bad on camera. Us, we need that. You don't want that. You can't have that. You're ego driven, etc., etc. So it's a fight, internal fight if you're the same person. So it's almost unfair to them.
Well,
but,
I think
yeah.
So I think I would take, so it's,
well, if you don't agree, say. I mean,
so this is what I'm trying to wrap my head around, because I think that let's look at, say, Undertaker.
Sure.
He didn't even create his character. And he is probably someone that, as strong of a man that he is, as solid in himself as he is, the one thing I would say about him is that he has never been ego driven. I would argue, and I would also argue that on the other side of the coin, I've seen plenty of executives that have been ego driven.
Oh, heck yeah.
But because of how they are able to perform and what they're able to bring, they are where they are.
Sure.
What I would agree on, with a twist, is that I think you need to be 100% selfless to do both.
Yeah.
You have,
and that's hard.
You
hard.
have to be, well, again, I think that, see, I can, again, because I think it kind of comes down to, again, looking at it from my history and looking at it from the business side of it, is that the best leaders ultimately started from within the ranks.
Oh yeah. No,
and are at their core selfless. They're confident in what they can do. They're able to take inputs and then make a decision. But at their core, they are about the business, whatever that is, first.
The us and we versus me.
Yeah.
Type of deal.
Like you come in, like, we get, like, again, it's like, listen, unless you're coming up in here where you can roll up and have a salary of $1 and still have 2 homes in the Caymans.
Right.
I don't want to hear about me.
Right.
Because you got to be that dude.
Sure.
And if you're that dude, fine, whatever. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. If it's all about you, bro, it's all about you.
Yeah.
Because us chickens are going to be out here actually running the damn company, and it's in that room where I do not want to hear about me, because you don't matter. No. I don't matter. None of us in this room matter. We can be all fired
replaceable.
We can be all fired tomorrow. It has
and the company moves on.
Our the zeros at the end of our paychecks mean nothing outside of the fact that it's our necks on the line, right?
They mean something to us, the individual, but
maybe
not.
to a point.
Sure.
But if that's your focus, you're already screwing up.
Right.
Now, back to the point about the EVP title at the end of the Young Bucks names,
which they have.
You can't do it. You can't be running a tag team division and bury the best tag team FTR in the freaking company.
Because of your little egos.
Exactly. You can't. I don't want to hear about me.
Like I said,
you're paid. You're paid to not matter at that point. Your job is to do whatever it takes to make the business viable, to make it profitable, to make it work. And when it comes down to what the fans really want and what really and no, they're all about themselves.
I'll give an example, and I thought it was interesting back when it first happened, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, it's kayfabe, it'll be gone, and there'll be some kind of workaround on it. But early on, Cody Rhodes had a match with MJF, and what was on the line was Cody could never go for a world title.
Yep.
Seemed like a silly thing, like, yeah, whatever. It's kayfabe. So would they have eventually gotten around it? Probably. It's that type of stuff comes and goes, which is fine. To be fair, good. That's what it's supposed to be. But he didn't. I mean, he legitimately stuck with that too.
He lost that match and was never world title.
He was never not only was he not world title, he was never even sniffing around the world title. You know what I mean? Like, nope. He got the TNT thing, but that was more of a prop to prop it up.
Exactly.
And he was putting the next guy over. Whoever it was,
his job was to, and because Cody, right, again, that's what we say, like, we talked about this, I think, if we didn't say it on stream, I'm going to say it now. The only guy out of the quote-unquote elite that could really, truly do both left the freaking company. So
everybody was pointing the fingers. There was a lot, like I said, we said this earlier. There were a lot of finger pointing when he left.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's not really.
He's just about some money.
I think he saw some of the stuff that was going down, because you also got to see, he really separated himself from the quote unquote the elite.
While
both
there,
storyline and like
I was gonna say,
like legitimately,
it was way before he left. Everybody's talking about when he left. No, it was before he left.
He wasn't, and the big thing is, it's funny to say this, but he wasn't really showing up on the YouTube channel anymore. And that's where you can really see like who the Young Bucks people are.
Who's their boys?
Because to Cody's point, and again, I think a situation where I think Cody had the right idea on how to run and orient things. People talk about guys like Roddy Piper and Razor Ramon and others for the longest time, until Randy Savage won the world title. People were talking about him.
Right.
They're there because, one, they can bring credence to that underbelt title to make it more exciting, because that's the one you saw more week to week to week.
That was your worker. That
was your worker. But also, they were people that didn't need the world title to get over in the first place.
Yeah. Taker now. Taker can just show up and he's
take the U.S. title. Take the U.S. title off somebody, and now the U.S. title has credence. But now that's slightly unfair, because Taker's been a multi-time world champion.
Fair enough.
But you could have, say, like, rest in peace, if Scott Hall were alive and healthy and able to go, Razor Ramon could show up at any point in time in his prime, win, say, he could win the 24/7 title and give that title credence.
Right.
I'm sorry, but he could, because it's more about the character with the belt, the person in the ring, and how they work and everything else versus the title itself. And so they didn't need it, and ultimately, because of the way the business worked, they needed them to validate the title. Like, it's more like the title needed them more than they needed the title. You know what I mean?
That's a perfect example.
And they, you know, and so Cody recognized that. We need to develop this television title.
Yes.
It was
because
kind
at
of
the time, to be fair, at the time, there was only the World Championship. There were no other belts.
And who was going to win it?
It was like the women's, but I mean, there was no other men's belt.
No, and he needed that undercard men's belt. That's been the system forever. And they needed to be able to at least start from there and then branch out. And so they needed, and the NWA always had the television title. And that's where he came in with Arn as his coach. Arn Anderson was one of the most prominent NWA television title. He was the guy that was out there week after week defending
was the
that
world
title.
Champion.
Yep.
Arn was the worker. Yeah.
He was doing either the tag team championships or the television title. And so Cody, within part of the contract with TNT, said, okay, we're going to have a television title. But the NWA, who's actually still in business now, thanks to Billy Corgan, has a television title. Like, okay, you know what? We're TNT. Let's call it the TNT title.
Yeah.
And it was also kind of a smart bit of business because now we're every time, like, this product is really advertising your channel.
Absolutely.
While you're showing us on your channel. And so, just in case you don't remember, this is on TNT.
By the way.
Especially now where people are more watching things online and streams. After the fact and streams and stuff like that. Having a TNT title, it's actually a smart piece of business.
Yeah.
You know?
Fair enough. Yeah, that's a good call.
And so, you know, Cody comes in and actually really develops an underneath title and makes it something. He's fighting tooth and nail for it. It's again old school NWA wrestling. He learned from his old man. He's out there just like scraping for it.
Plumber. Mm-hmm.
Son of a effing plumber, man. I'm sorry, grandson of a plumber.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, you beat me to it. Yeah.
But but then you reflect that against what the Bucks have done, and it's kind of like, you know, there's always some kind of a contingency around when they lose and who they actually put over and who they don't. And then they come around,
friends.
They conveniently drop the tag team titles so then they can turn around and win the trios title when Kenny comes back.
Right.
And it's just,
and you could see it from a 30,000-foot view. You knew where it was heading. I mean, you knew they're going to get the trios title. Yeah, okay. We know that 2 months out. That's not what wrestling's supposed to be. So, anyhow, I think we've talked about the Young Bucks enough.
Yeah, there's not much else to say there.
We can only drag them through the mud so much.
But that's kind of where it all went down, and that's why because of what Punk said, that's really where it comes down to where they felt they needed to. But also, I think, really, I think it came down to they were truly feeling threatened because Punk, good, bad, or indifferent, can legitimately outdraw them. And he said, I'm trying to run a business here. I think that really stuck to them as part of the scrum, even beyond all, and then the stuff that you're talking about, the whole
as
thing with these AVP,
this small company.
These yeah.
But see, that goes back to what I was saying earlier. You're the small company. You and your 4 friends got together and you started this company, and golly gosh darn it, we moved it up. And
yep.
Good for you. We have made it a multi-billion-dollar business. Great. But now you're in shark-infested waters.
Yep.
And these are sharks that have been here a very long time. And not necessarily trying to kill you shark, but just ones that know how to survive in this depth of water that you are now in, and you frankly are not.
Living in a world where if I don't kill, I die.
Right. I can't stop swimming and go to sleep.
Where it's they're the best, most wholesome, pure-hearted wrestler in the world recognizes those moments where they had to quote unquote kill, because you had to kill to eat or die.
Yeah,
they had to make a move that unfortunately left someone behind.
Yes. And that someone may have been somebody that they came up with. It may have been that person. And at some point, you got to step on them and keep moving.
In CM Punk's case, that was Colt Cabana. I mean, in a lot of ways, which is a big part of how that whole thing kind of came down.
Sure.
But
and that's why he's throwing a fit since.
But anyhow, but then again, that's another good segue into where we're going now, because part of this needs to go back
that people are not comfortable with.
Press conference. Yes. I am my nickname for him until I am proven otherwise is the Adderall Kid, one Mr. Tony Khan.
Man, I don't even know which one of the. You know what? I'm gonna let you go on this one, because I think my disdain of the Young Bucks, and the thing is, I was all again. Jared and I always go from different points of view when it comes to wrestling.
Yeah.
I come from the fan side. Like, I was all ready to back hey, new people making changes, and you're
why
not
wouldn't
WWE.
You? Why
and you
wouldn't
have
you?
Fought through the Indies, and Mazel Tov. Go, buddy.
I mean, I was there. I mean, even from a back end management side of things, which is my perspective, I was like
let's go
get it. Let's do it. This is best for wrestling.
Yeah,
period.
Absolutely.
Like, and so, but Tony has done it
again.
Okay, so
anybody that didn't get that, that's an
no,
old,
I know it's an old.
Reference.
That's you
I was
going.
Gonna say, that showed my age right there.
You're going.
No one got that. I understand.
You're going back like deep through the cassette rack.
Really, cassette. That's a very, very. That's a good call. Good call. Yeah.
You're flipping. You're flipping over the B side to the.
Yeah, for sure. That is absolutely sure. If anyone knows what that reference was from, please let us know in the comments.
Let us know. Let us know. Drop us a like for it, because
for sure.
Tony Khan. Tony Khan is the owner, CEO, president, and
not kayfabe.
Not kayfabe. This isn't a Vince McMahon situation. This is legitimately.
Yeah.
He's 100% the top guy, and apparently one of, if not the top booker, kind of playing a Vince role.
Without the Vince
pedigree,
wherewithal,
or
pedigree,
or killer instinct,
background, history, experience, any of these things.
Flat
his
out,
claim to fame is that his dad is rich.
Exactly.
Is that
which speaks to why he doesn't have any of that. He hasn't run a business that his daddy hasn't bought for him. And I think this is a big piece of it. That's one thing. And I'm not, and here's the thing, I'm not 100% certain that somebody, even if they had made their way up in some other business on their own, would necessarily be better. They'd be different, but not necessarily better. The wrestling business is the most unique business in existence.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there aren't other unique ones, but this is, and you know, you got to take it back to the history of it. The Carney roots, the territory days, the WWF, now WWE monopoly. Before that, the Monday Night Wars and the 83 weeks with WCW.
Right.
There's a history here and a way that this business has been put together that I don't care. Yeah, sure, it's great that you're running sports, like you're running, technically own the Jacksonville Jaguars. Great. You're supposedly kind of halfway running some kind of football/soccer team out in Europe. Okay, fair enough. But there is nothing like wrestling, other than wrestling, outside of maybe boxing and maybe MMA.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you're still dealing with like legitimate fighters going at it, but maybe from just a kind of a raw management perspective and managing egos and how to work the house and things like that. That's definitely a much closer connection. But other than that, you're hard pressed to come into this business and truly expect to run it soup to nuts without like legitimate help.
Sure.
And what I mean by legitimate help is you be the money man and let someone else run the wrestling.
Purely silent partner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially if you're Tony Khan.
More, yeah.
This guy...
He should never be an on-screen character.
No.
Ever.
Or even in an official capacity. He should never be in front of the crowd. There are people that like him. Fair enough. But ultimately...
I don't think he's like the worst person in the world. Vince was a much worse person. I would say that. Like, I don't think that's a big leap. As a person, I don't think Vince McMahon is the one that I want to leave my dog with. You know what I mean?
People can say that, but people can say that about Michael Jordan.
Oh, fair enough. Tony Khan is more LeBron?
No.
Trying to think of somebody nice.
He's not even...
Like, I was trying to give LeBron a weird compliment there. Like, he's the nice one, I guess?
Maybe. Okay, maybe. But even, like, LeBron didn't have a rich dad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like...
I think Carmelo's not nice.
No, but I mean, like... You'd have to find somebody that has that whole nice thing and have, like, a rich daddy that handed him the position.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just not good. You know? Like, if I let's say if I were Tony Khan, now It's because I'm not Tony Khan that I'm coming from this perspective. If I was advising Tony Khan, let's say I was a trusted advisor,
sure,
that worked my way up,
right?
And it's like, you want my take on this? Your name would be known, but you'd be propped up as this business mogul.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
No, you're not gonna hear from Tony. You're not gonna see Tony.
You don't get to see Tony.
We're gonna tell you.
We can refer to Tony as the omnipotent entity that lives out there.
We are going to tell you the decisions that he has made, and it is law.
Yes.
When we use his name, it's because he has made an edict from above, and it is law. It is non-negotiable.
Moses and the Ten Commandments.
It is non-negotiable. So now you're getting like MJF, but like that's a whole nother thing. Talking about that whole promo, which was just
I was gonna say we can't. We're gonna do that. Okay. We'll do that one solo. We need to do that on
And we need to get we need to
politics of this.
We need to let this MJF thing percolate a little bit. But Tony Khan with a name. His last name is Khan.
It could not be any better. It really couldn't. Anyhow, go ahead. Sorry, I'm really gonna sidetrack you.
If anything else out of it, like Tony Khan, I would have maybe even gone with like T Khan or like something like some other kind of name. But his last name is Khan. You could have had someone basically be his mouthpiece.
Yeah.
That's come along and basically be like, you could even have some, and you know what? I wouldn't have had, for something like this, I would have had like someone, maybe even like a Tony Schiavone or someone like that who has the respect within the industry and everything else to basically come in. It's like, okay, listen, I would say don't kill the messenger, but my last, if you're gonna kill me, my last message is to you is that it won't matter. It will make no difference.
Right.
I'm the mouth of Sauron. You think killing me right now is gonna change a damn thing? No. I'm not telling you to test it. I'm begging you not to. But what I will say is that it won't change anything outside of it, more than likely, if not definitely, making things worse for you. Because you don't want to piss that man off. Instead, we have the Adderall kid. Exactly. The most bug-eyed, deer in a headlights, terrified to be out there, weak-willed, weak-voiced, just... I'm sorry.
It was really bad.
I'm sorry.
He was trying to come across as an authority figure on Dynamite.
The words themselves were perfect.
Days to get ready.
But
to talk to himself in a mirror.
No, everything was perfect except for the one thing they couldn't fix, which was Tony. They can't fix Tony.
It was bad.
He can't. I have no answers for Tony outside of get him off the freaking camera.
I just thought about this. I think of oh shoot, I don't want to say his name. I forgot it that fast. The commissioner of the NFL. What's his name?
Goodell.
Goodell.
Roger Goodell.
Yeah, Roger seems like a complete puppet. you clearly see that you know that there are people behind him making his mouth move at times. But at least he says, and he sounds like he fits the role.
But also, what he says is what happens.
Yes, absolutely, is what happens. No.
And again, that role is again effectively the voice of the authority is in and of itself again as authoritative as the actions taken after the message is given.
Once it's delivered.
If the actions 100% align to the message given, it doesn't really matter who gives the message.
No.
Again, he talks about like don't kill the messenger. The whole reason like don't kill the messenger. Everyone like said, oh, hey, don't kill the messenger, but people don't realize like the true like origin of that adage. It's what I said before. You can kill the messenger all you want to.
It doesn't change what's going to happen.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This is the thing, because I'm only the messenger.
I'm only telling you what's going to happen.
Yes.
Going to.
Yes.
Not might.
Yes.
Will happen.
Yes.
And
even look at the 300.
No part
look
of
at the
what
300.
Tony said seems no part of Tony's what he said on Dynamite. Nope. And that was after practice. I think we said this earlier, but if we didn't, we definitely said it in the last stream.
Yeah.
Where anyone can get caught off guard. I don't care how important you are. I don't care how business savvy you are. You can get caught off guard. And somebody's saying something, you're in a moment, and you're like, wait, what? I was going to lunch. What happened was we were supposed to have some food. What are we talking about? So the press conference and the fact that he looked like a scared puppy sitting next to CM Punk the whole time. Okay, fair enough. Let's say it's a one-off. Kind of surprised. You really don't know where this is going or what is happening. And sometimes, as an executive, you gotta almost let it play all the way out to figure out what the hell's going on.
Just let it go. Yep.
Yeah, just like, you know what? We're gonna talk about this later.
Mm-hmm.
But for right now, it's just gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
They're just gonna let you just keep giving you all the rope that you got. Here it is. Just gonna just string this junk along. So maybe you can give them a little bit of a pass for that. You had 3 or 4 days to get yourself ready.
This
you could have talked into a mirror.
Yeah.
Anybody that's giving any sort of presentation at some point, you know, they always tell you, well, if you want to practice, go talk to a mirror. This opportunity.
This is a situation. This is a situation where I do feel bad for Tony for a couple of reasons. One, just because of the layers on top of layers on top of layers of bullshit.
Sure.
Because of what happened, but now that is the role he has chosen.
But at the end of the day, that's true. Exactly.
But also because I see it as a loss. The fight in the back, I see that as a lost opportunity.
You could
for Tony, not because of the fight. I'm talking about. Let's say the fight didn't happen.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It's a lost opportunity. The press conference, in and of itself, in a bubble, was a great opportunity for Tony to demonstrate some true to form executive acumen. You don't even need strength. His title gives him all the strength he needs. I'm talking about intelligence, both from a business strategic perspective and an emotional intelligence, understanding everything that's coming into play, talking to the right people, getting the right counsel, and then
listening to said counsel.
Yes, and effectively effectively handling the CM Punk situation because of that press conference. Without the brawl, that, and then like looking at the Hangman Page promo in retrospect of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Factor in the Kevin Durant scenario, I spoke about how I would have spoken to Kevin Durant. Right?
I have a feeling, actually, that's a very good analogy. But keep going. Yeah. That's a very good analogy.
CM Punk would have been in my... Now, let's say I would not have had the same eyes, the same, like, overt affect that Tony had during the press conference. Maybe it might have been, like you said, a situation where I just let it happen.
Sometimes you just
gonna let him go.
Yeah.
Without question, he would have been in my office that week.
Maybe not that night.
No, not that night.
Sometimes you need to cool down and they need to cool down, and then you talk.
Sure.
See that, Young Bucks? That's how that works.
Exactly.
Don't go banging on somebody's door the minute because you're pissed off.
No, it would not have been that night. It would have
Monday
been
morning?
that week.
Yeah.
And I guarantee, well, let me put it this way. It would have been before the Dynamite airing.
Oh, for sure.
Because I need to decide how I'm handling the show.
Yes.
And a big piece of that was how that conversation went.
Right.
Right? Whether or not CM Punk would have even shown up. Now, also, let's take the injury. Let's take the injury out of it.
Yeah, because that does add another wrinkle. That's a little.
There's
a lot of extra wrinkles.
It's almost again why I wouldn't want to be in Tony Khan's position in that situation.
Yeah, right.
It's a very convoluted scenario, but it's one of those things where but regardless of the injury, there would have been a conversation about how Punk went off and had that whole press conference. And also in retrospect, because of the whole thing, there'd have been a sit down with that Hangman too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Hangman kind of gets away with this.
And there would have been
like
But to your point, in and of itself, when it happened, it wasn't in a bubble. It wasn't a bad promo.
Mm-mm.
You know, but understanding
aren't in a bubble.
Exactly.
Now when you see,
understanding, yes, there would have been a sit down with Hangman, and again, assuming there wasn't the fight, there would have been a sit down with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. Because of a lot of things going on, there's a whole lot of shit getting off the rails here, and I need to get ahead of it.
Right.
Period.
I need to know what's going on.
And not like knowing what's going on and making it very clear that I'm driving this thing.
Yeah.
And don't step out. Don't go stepping out. Right now.
Right.
Listen, right now, especially, everybody needs to act right. This is not the time.
Weirdly enough, in that case, and I mean, tell what you think. No fight, right? No fight in the back.
No fight.
And this is all what it is. Hangman's the guy that takes a hit. He's the one that takes the big hit. I'm making an example of you because I don't want to ever have this again. Yes, it was a one-off and you did it way back there. Great. You're going to pay for it. And I'm going to make a real clear example of you where everybody knows what you did and why this is happening. Like whatever it is, bump you down the card, give you the Triple H treatment, whatever.
Well, so here's the thing. Here's the thing. So,
God, that song.
Okay. So, here's how I would take Hangman.
Assuming no fight.
No fight.
Yeah. I keep saying that just, yeah.
And again, you got it now. Also, with the fight, Hangman was on Dynamite Wrestling.
No, that's what I said. I think with the fight, Hangman's going to get off scot-free. I really do. I truly do. It's like he has a light on him, but it's like a night light, and the sun is shining on everybody else. So.
Also, he lost.
Fair enough.
I agree with that decision. I'm not going to reward him for it. But in a way, Hangman, especially kind of because of a storyline that had started before the pandemic, that then got stretched through the pandemic, and then, like, Hangman's kind of already sort of been through the Triple H treatment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, he's young-ish, and I think that Hangman's also one of those guys that deep down, like he, I think all in all, his heart was in the right place. And so the way I would personally treat the situation is like, all right, I get you. Don't do that again.
Consider, you know what I'm saying? Your learning experience.
Yes.
You have learned never to do this again.
You're gonna job for Bryan Danielson, and we're gonna talk about this. You're not being deep-rooted punished right now, but we're gonna figure out how to work you in, but understand,
I am not grouping you with your friends who are about to have their heads taken off.
That too.
Don't choose to be with them.
Exactly. It's
their heads get taken off.
Yeah. It's
don't have some misplaced loyalties.
Yeah, right. It's one of those situations where it's like, you, even without the fight, I would have, and again, I said I would have had a talk with Hangman. And one of the things that I would have had a conversation with him is that I do not want to hear you airing inside laundry out public.
Ever.
You know?
Yeah.
All in all, the promo in and of itself, again, like you said, not everything's in a bubble.
Sure.
If this
but
whole
in a bubble,
if this whole rumoroll wasn't actually going on, and you gave that promo verbatim,
yeah,
I would have no reason to have a problem with it.
None.
The problem is this shit is happening,
and you knew where you were pulling it from. This wasn't you in the moment just cooking up some stuff.
No,
you knew your buddies and you had been talking in the back.
Right.
And this is where this is coming from. You gotta, your motivations got to play a part here. So,
and also, anyhow. I mean, again, I'd be very transparent. I mean, no, I'm not 100% on CM Punk's side. I'm still deciding what to do with him. But you went up and decided to bring all this up in an angle with someone, let's be clear about this, that has been the biggest draw we've ever had. Let's get this clear.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he is getting absolute carte blanche because of this. What I'm saying is,
but he's my star salesman. He's going to be able to get away with some stuff.
But it's. I can't phrase it like that.
No. You wouldn't phrase it like that. No,
it's more of a matter of I need to be the one, because he's the star salesman. I need to be the one that is the only voice that's heard about this situation.
Sure.
Especially to him, one, and two, it should never be freaking spilled out to the damn public in the first place. And that's how I would say it.
Yeah. I mean,
he would be 100% clear about how goddamn angry I am right now.
Yeah, because there's no way you couldn't have that.
No. And one thing Tony Khan can't freaking do effectively is put some damn bass in his voice and step up.
No, he doesn't. He has no bass. There is, I mean, really, he has no bass in his voice. I don't understand it. Oh man, come on. Like I said, I gave him a pass. I gave him a pass for the press conference because
he just got caught off guard.
What's happening?
Okay. But it's not. It wasn't his action or his inaction. It was his demeanor.
Oh, he was scared. He was like the sad kid that just figured out Santa Claus wasn't real.
You can't get away with that up in public like that.
No.
You gotta. If anything else, you just come in. You just like stoic. He was in there kind of trying to be sort of that understanding friend at best, or that lapdog at worst.
Yeah.
And neither one of those are acceptable.
Both were bad at that. In that instance, both were bad. You couldn't be the friend. And
he wasn't talking about CM Punk wasn't talking about losing a family member. That's a whole different situation.
No.
He was coming in like, no, I mean, if he was talking about losing like his mother or something like that, then Tony Khan's demeanor and everything else was 100% on point. 100% on point. Whether he meant it or not, 100% on point.
Even if it was, I lost mom a few weeks ago and I've been struggling here.
Fair enough.
Dude.
All good. All good.
Even if all this went on because of, and that was the reason behind it.
And Tony's aware of it, and he's just letting him go because he knows, and he can do damage control later, and PR and all. Perfect, 100%. But that wasn't what was happening.
That's not what was happening.
He was going off on some
kid throwing a tantrum.
He was going off on some legal shit that had nothing to do with AEW in the first place or All Out.
Right.
You had him going off on the EVPs, good, bad, or indifferent, speaking out against that. And then also, this is something else we haven't brought up yet. And this would be something, as someone running the company, I would be effing pissed about. He completely blew the air out of the MJF reveal.
Yeah.
All Out ended with MJF on top of the ramp.
Yeah.
And saying the belt around me was CM Punk with the belt after just winning, and basically saying, come get it. And he just completely blew the air out of the sails on that. Completely destroyed my pop.
And that in itself is the reason if there was ever, I will say, if there's ever a thing, as much as we were I was hinting at earlier, like, and there's still some parts that I go, and work. Maybe somehow, some way. That is a nail in the coffin of it not being.
Why would you do that? Now,
there's no reason.
No.
Zero reason. Like and I'm talking about it from the whole, like, oh, there's always a spin, right? There's always a spin. It's always a lie. There's nothing good that comes from that. You lie because there's something good that comes from it.
You help, even if it's a throwaway line, you bring it back to that. You bring it back. You bring the press back to that moment. You do something. You set a seed, and then you move that forward into Dynamite on Wednesday. Yes. You have to draw that in. Now, granted, the saving grace, and again, dear God, this guy is a gift to wrestling. MJF is able to come out
Maxwell Jacob
first thing and just save the whole fucking shit show. The crowd, when he was doing the whole fake good guy shit,
where he was the good guy. When he
knew,
ran out, I will say, I was like, oh wow, this is okay.
God, this guy. Because also the whole thing of it is that, what's so great about it was that he pulled it in just enough where it was like, holy shit. Is he actually turning? I know he's not.
He's face.
But he's edge. He's showing that if he wanted to, he could.
I could be a face real easy. Everybody wants the bad guy to turn good. Like that's the everybody wants the Joker to be the good guy at some point.
Everybody loves him anyway.
Yeah. Well,
and
but I mean, like, if you're
he's the Rowdy Piper. He's the Razor Ramon. He's the Flair and different, depending on the territory during the territory days. It didn't matter if Flair was running heel. Everybody was cheering him anyway. But it didn't matter. It didn't break the match.
What he was saying,
or what he was doing, or anything else. And ultimately, but if it had been anybody else, it would have completely deflated the tires on that bitch. It would have completely destroyed the momentum. But because MJF is MJF, he was able to go out there and just
like I said, I said in the last stream, you're right. I said in the last stream, he is getting, even as the bad guy, Stone Cold is the only one that I can think of. Yeah. Exactly. Stone Cold wasn't a good guy per se.
The Rock in certain, like, there was kind of like transitionary areas, especially where The Rock was able to do that. But Stone Cold had it to a science. I think where The Rock kind of came in, where the whole thing, like, even when he was a face and he was with Coachman and he was being a complete asshole to Coachman, it doesn't matter what you just
someone did that in real life, you'd be like, dude's a prick. What is that? Just a terrible person.
But Stone Cold had it to a nuanced science in a way, but doing it in a completely dumb redneck way at the same time. It was so simple in the execution, but there was so much going on behind the scenes where basically he was just, even as a heel, it just, everyone wanted to hear that glass break, and that whole everything, and just
because he was kind of, but he became like the everyman.
Exactly.
And
with the Vince McMahon, that's where they able to build the Vince McMahon villain character. Where everything, I mean, like, really, if you look at someone to do what he did to McMahon, looking at him doing that as another human being, like, it'd be deplorable. It would just be absolutely horrible. But because it was the McMahon character and it was
have your foil,
it was the quote unquote redneck doing it.
Yes.
It was, everybody was just blowing up on it. And it was just there was enough comedy, there was enough seriousness with it, like, and because everyone
would see, and the best ones are when Stone Cold would, he'd do the, he's got the big smile, and all of a sudden, he's getting ready to toast McMahon or something, throws him a beer, and then it's just like, oh yeah, I am a rattlesnake.
He stole the 1-2 from Jake the Snake.
Yeah.
2 quick moves. Jake had the short clothesline and the DDT. Stone Cold had the kick to the gut and the stunner. Mm-hmm. And he could pull it from anywhere.
Right.
He could just pick it. He could be your best friend drinking beers with you. And that was the whole thing. He would have, and like, that was even better for the crowd, because he'd be hanging out with you and everything, and everyone would be wondering, is he gonna do it? And then it'd be like one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, he's actually
playing to the crowd.
He's actually doing it. Okay,
the show's going off.
And then boom, done. Like 5 seconds, it's over. And it's just, and yeah. So, but MJF is more like Piper. He's more that, just like Piper, like true Piper when he was a heel, like a true to form heel, like his only goal was to make everybody in the world hate him and be as quick and witty and funny and somehow, some way likable at the same time.
Right.
And MJF's coming in there like and again, also kind of doing kind of some of the antics, I'm gonna dip out of the ring here, I'm not getting paid for tonight, we're gonna save this for a pay-per-view,
sure.
That kind of thing, it's that kind of move. And he did the same thing when Moxley came out. He's just like, he takes off the shirt and all this stuff, and he's like, nah, I'm out. I'm not. This isn't the time or place for this.
Right.
So that in of itself would have really put some major heat from me as the president, the owner, everything else on CM Punk, because it's, you're out here doing a press conference representing this company, not yourself.
Yeah, dude, you cannot have that.
And you're not pushing the storyline at all.
No.
And I think that's where it really
you talk about going into business for yourself. This is it.
This is it. It wasn't in the ring, but it's almost as bad. In some ways, even worse, because you're really not pushing the company line. But again, really though, there's nothing worse than like purposefully injuring someone in the ring.
Sure.
But from a company perspective, from an executive and ownership perspective, no, there's
storyline.
Nothing worse. You're not helping to drive. You're not helping to drive what we're putting forth here. Even like I say, if it's like real fights, like even like UFC.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't bring up your opponent, You stand there and just talk about yourself and your own bullshit all night? Can you imagine Dana White putting up with that shit for 2 seconds?
No.
Not promoting the fight at all? No. This is a promotion.
Says it right there in the name. Promo. Short for something.
Promo, promotion, wrestling promotion. It's all like, I don't care. We can call this a media scrum all you want to. All we're doing, all I care about is promoting the next thing. That's it. What else are we in this for?
Tony, after all of this, the Dynamite, he said the words, as you said earlier, he said all the words that someone wrote for him clearly.
Oh, yeah.
He was very clearly reading them. He was doing tonight we will have and you clearly see him reading, which is fine. I don't even have a problem with that.
But no,
want to get your wording correct.
This is the thing. This is the thing. You can deal with it to a certain level, but once you get up to that level of executive,
have you not?
You need to be able. Okay, it kind of really. What's so funny is that like executive staff, it almost kind of comes down to the old school wrestling promo structure. It's okay. Here are the points that you have to make.
This topic.
These these are the things like you definitely don't want to touch on.
Right.
You know the buzz lines. You know the phrases to say. Now you come up with how you want to say it and fill it. And then it's kind of a thing where you go over it with kind of the PR side of it, maybe, and then you get it tightened up from there, and then you go out, because you're not necessarily worried about memorizing every single word. It's what you're trying to present, what you're trying to represent, what needs to get covered, what has to be said. You make sure you hit those points and don't go off the rails.
Never write if you do have a talk or sermon or anything like that. That's why you would never want to write word for word what you're going to say. That's a script. You don't want to read that. The reason that everybody makes fun of WWE and they're scripting promos because someone wrote and you
can tell when someone's saying something that's not in their voice.
Yes.
It's very, very easy to, and it just comes off as a genuine, disingenuous, or just flat out contrived, if anything else. And that's kind of the worst thing that you can do to someone. I mean, you can flat out lie to someone, good, bad, or indifferent. You can flat out lie to someone, but if you make it and the words you're saying are coming out of words you would say, then it will come off as more believable than if you were telling the truth and reading words that were written completely by somebody else.
Yes.
Period.
Absolutely.
It comes off as practiced as, and this is where you kind of see, and this is where, again, if anything else, this is where, especially if you have someone who's come out in the press, you have someone who's maybe coming, maybe someone who went through a horrible trial and they came out of it and then they need to make a statement, and you can tell when they wrote their own words on paper and they're just wanting to make sure that they're able to get those words out, and they may be too emotional to do it off the top of their head.
Sure.
It's also easier to see that it's their words. You know what I mean? It's easier to tell that than reading
It's
a
still
statement
them,
written by somebody else.
But they want to make sure they didn't miss anything. Or,
they didn't. They didn't flub
totally,
it. They didn't. Or if they're not. I mean, again, people get put in front of the camera, and they're just not. They're not. That's not what they're built for. That's just not their thing.
Right.
And they need to make sure that they get their words out. And it's
they hit everything.
I think that's fair. I'd rather have somebody read that. That's their own words, than go out and because of emotions getting the better of them screwing it up. But Tony, unfortunately, I don't think he has the capability to write his own words.
No, he definitely
around this kind of thing.
No
I
part
don't
of these were his
think
words.
that, because also when you're reading your own words and you're able to kind of lift off the paper and
you remember what you were
say,
feeling in the moment you wrote those words.
it, and you're able to say it, and you're able to get that through and then go back to it and go through. And again, it's just, but even beyond just the reading things off a teleprompter, it's Tony just needs to back off and step out of the limelight and I'm hoping this is where maybe Tony Schiavone can maybe help fill that role.
Sure.
And also he needs to find someone who can help book the show a little bit better, and have somebody who can kind of be
did so
more
well
that
during the pandemic, far better than WWE.
Well, I think that's because when they were coming up off the cuff, and they had kind of that indie background, and they were kind of running it more like that. Whereas WWE was not. They were too big. No,
Plus
they were
Vince
too big. Yeah, they were too big.
Yeah.
So
improv is not what you want to do when you're
you're
used to movies.
But I think and we
take two. Yeah.
We did definitely. This is definitely something we talked about before the stream. It's the seams are starting to show here.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that I think Tony, if he still has an opportunity to make some very solid moves here, and if he can step away from it and say that, I still have a part, I still have a place, but it's not right up front. It needs to be in the back. And how do I facilitate this?
Script that in or kayfabe it in. Have some kayfabe version of a hostile takeover, for lack of a better term.
I wouldn't. You know what? I wouldn't.
Just let it go.
I wouldn't even make anything about it. I would not make. I wouldn't bring any attention to it because Tony doesn't step necessarily up front all that much, and I think that you can have someone come in, step up, and say that they are effectively the voice. They are. This is. In fact, they basically come along and say this is coming in from executive leadership. Tony
just so long
Tony
as it's
Khan
not a
has
computer that says.
Well, that's the thing. No, Mike. Oh God, no.
When you said that, all of a sudden, just my brain went back to I don't remember when that was. I have an announcement from the commissioner. This computer.
Oh, good
WWE
God.
WWE did that way
and
back.
It was hilarious because it was basically Michael Cole's basically like at the end. He wasn't there was nothing on the screen. He was just saying
he was just saying
even like kayfabe. He was like there was nothing. Like he was saying there was nothing on the screen. It was just him. And it needs to be somebody that can be authoritative enough. Like you know who would really on the AEW roster, like really the best person to step into that role is William Regal.
Well, because that's sort of what he was for NXT.
Kind of, yeah. He was the quote unquote commissioner for NXT, and so, you know, he has the clout. He's been there.
He has the clout. He's used to talking on a microphone. If the camera gets in his face, he's not surprised by that.
He's been in the ring.
Doesn't look like he's scared of it.
Yeah, and he's British, and he makes being British helps to make everything
more authoritative right off the top.
Yeah, right. For us in the U.S., and saying for you Brits, you may not get it, but in the U.S., you come off. It just kind of sounds kind of official. Maybe it's kind of our old colonial roots showing up out of us.
Up,
you know,
like awesome.
But
they're showing up. Heck on it. Everybody look like we're supposed to be here.
It's but I mean, as far as like pedigree, as far as being in the business, doing the thing, both in the ring and out, and everything else, I could see someone like I could see someone like William Regal kind of coming in and saying, you know, in my capacity as blah blah blah, and speaking for the executive leadership of AEW, I will announce blah 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 blah, or I will state blah 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 blah. This is what will happen. Da 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 da, and you know, and again, understand that this is official. This is, you know, da da da. You know, and maybe like in the very beginning of it, but not for long. I wouldn't hang on it, but maybe at the very beginning of it, I'll come along and say, you know, something along the lines of, if there are any questions or complaints, da 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 da, feel free to come to me. And if we need to really, if we need to push this through the executive chain, we can effectively coordinate that, but understand that this is the decision of the executive leadership. It is final, and you know, and kind of establish that. Like someone like William Regal could do that. Sure. You need to have somebody like kind of at that level that has that credence and has that presence. And
we were talking about British, and this is by no means not even a good segue, but it's just a tie because of the week that we're in, and some stuff that happened this week. Talking about somebody that would carry these are really polar opposite. One's very much real life, and one is professional wrestling. Like it's not anything close to the same thing. But as far as someone who I always think of as carrying themselves with grace, presence, having, you know, being able to just show up and people pay attention. The polar opposite of Tony Khan, and this will be the only time that these two people are in the same sentence, would be Queen Elizabeth, who passed away this week.
Class act,
complete class act. All of the things, even, you know, here in the U.S., you know, we're a bunch of, you know, we can be degenerates a bit sometimes, but even for us over here, I mean, she is the class act. I mean, we've had presidents, we have presidents every so often, and I'm not going to pick on any one particular, but I think we all know who I'm talking about, who
doesn't necessarily represent that same
office and the clout that should come along with it.
Yep.
Whereas each time, right, wrong, made mistakes, of course, because humans are, you know, that, but always carried herself at like such a dignity, such a presence. It was just such an amazing person. And, you know an interesting fact. Yeah.
Her and Marilyn Monroe are the exact same age.
Really?
They were born in the exact same year.
Really?
No, because Marilyn died so young, you always see her in your head. As
she's always exactly.
Right? And I think especially Elizabeth came into the limelight, especially for us being, you know, much younger than her.
Sure.
we always see her as this elderly, stately woman, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's interesting that Marilyn Monroe and Queen Elizabeth, were born in the same year.
Yeah, I would never put them together in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, there's even pictures of them. I think they were both around 25. It was right around the time when Elizabeth took the crown. And and there they are. And then, yeah, it's interesting. She's one of those ladies, kind of like Betty White.
Oh, Betty White's awesome.
Just around forever. And, she passed very recently too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of one of those ones that it's just kind of a weird thing in the back of your head. You just kind of think they're just going to be around forever.
They're always there.
Always there.
Always there. They've always been, so won't they always be?
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
That's Anytime something like that happens, that's always such a.
Nah, it's always a shame when you see. On one hand, it's always a shame when you see someone who is such a incredible example of
shining
humanity,
right?
But at the
For
same
the good
time,
and bad sometimes.
Yeah,
Did she make? Of course, she was human. She made mistakes. There's probably a lot of stuff.
And I think, I think one thing is that yes, I think, and again, it kind of speaks to how, and again, our folks, our friends and folks from across the pond can obviously much better explain this, and our friends up in Canada can explain this better than we can. But she had her place within the government, but then there was a lot of things that were also run and decided upon that she didn't necessarily have direct say about.
Right. The government's
because of the structure, the structure of it between Parliament and the prime ministers and the Queen. But again, as far as kind of just representing a country, but again, also
I think even just a nation. I mean,
that's fair. Technically, you think about Great Britain as kind of a country, but it's multiple countries, and then various other countries and regions and other areas around the world.
Absolutely.
But ultimately, we think of her as the Queen of England, and I think that again, it's always a shame, but again, I think it's also important to help kind of celebrate people like that help to represent that, help to remember that they were here and that they represented that, and kind of help to remind you to kind of better represent yourself and everything else, if anything else, if take anything from it. But yeah, I mean, hey, cheers. If you're
for sure.
If Elizabeth, if you were the one to fancy a pint at the pub, I hope you're getting it in spades.
There you go, for sure.
This absolute beauty of a person, and
she can truly let her hair down now. I mean that with no disrespect in any way, shape, or form. I apologize if that hurt somebody. It's not meant in any way.
She's
nothing but reference for her.
She's free to do her thing, So absolutely. But I'm glad you brought that up. That's a good call. She's just one of the best.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, I think that would be a good spot to call it a night.
I think
it's 4 a.m. for me.
Okay, great.
So,
I think there's only thing else that we can really go from here is conjecture. There's rumor about the Bucks putting feelers out. I'm not even going there right now.
Yeah,
we need to really see what happens with that.
Things sort out a little bit.
Yeah, well, yeah, we need to get whenever we actually get more kind of confirmed information around that. It's maybe we can do a discussion around, is AEW better without the Elite? Is AEW better off without the Elite?
That, maybe even something, I did kind of going back and forth with it's a work, it's not a work, it might be a work, it could be a work. Maybe we do something, if this was a work, what would it be working toward?
That would be an interesting, I'll let you lead that, and then it would be an interesting thought exercise on my part. Because
you see what I'm saying?
It would be just very I couldn't lead that.
Hang on, I got this.
Yeah,
is what happened.
Yeah. We're getting into
Sophia from the Golden Girls. Picture it.
Speaking of Betty White,
2022.
It's Sicily, 1925.
Exactly. That's gonna be Chicago.
Ma, you weren't even alive then.
2022.
It's because I'm not big on rumor and conjecture, but I can theory craft if we need to.
We may do that. We'll see.
But I mean, again, at the end of it, playing my cards again, I think it'd be more interesting to talk about AEW without the Elite. Forget even CM Punk. CM Punk would be out anyway, he's injured. But AEW without the Elite in it.
And CM Punk, he was always going to be a shooting star type of thing.
Sure.
He's not going to be around for 20 years.
I agree. Yeah.
He was never going to be around for 20 years.
Yeah.
Or 10. Probably not 5.
Right.
Honestly.
Probably not.
So, yeah. So, anyhow, maybe we'll do that in the next
we'll have to kind of talk
week.
about that. Maybe Saturday. I think next Tuesday we should get back to some kind of a video game.
Yeah.
Just take a break.
Sure.
Because we won't even have Dynamite to kind of go off of things and really get a view of what they're presenting at least. So it would be hard. I think we'll get back. We'll see how things fall out, because I know there's going to be a lot of coverage on all of this, and I'd rather kind of discuss things after all the conjecture is out there, so we can talk about it a bit more intelligently. Maybe is that a thing in wrestling? That's possible.
The thing for us is the question. Intelligence.
Yeah. He got jokes. All right. Hey, thanks everyone who hopped on tonight. Corbin can go to bed if you're not.
Exactly.
But this is Getting Work signing out.
Later, fam.